$12.67 divided by 150. 8.5 pence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What is going on? Where are all you people coming from? What is going on? Get out of the way. What in the world? What in the world? Is this my live stream? Oh, this is what happened. Is this because I put a UFO in my... What is going on? That's weird. What in the world? What in the world? Well, thank you all. I have no idea what's going on out there in the live stream. I was going to explain these vents, and I had to turn the music down a little bit. I was trying to actually be quiet because it's Sunday morning and some of the family are still sleeping. Oops. Some people are slackers. But anyway, just kidding. Let me turn this off for a second. These vents, you're supposed to have one vent for every 150 square feet. And I believe I had 1287 divided by 150. Yeah, so I need at least 8 vents. And so I thought since the porch is on the front, we could hide 3 of them under there. And then you're supposed to have one within 4 feet of a corner. And you want them in these inside corners, you know, and especially down here in this little pocket. These 2 are important to get this pocket of musty crawl space air ventilated, and that's why those are there. And so I'm going to my foundation plan, and that's that. And then we go to our paper space, which is you can see I have some other drawings that from another project. I'm going to alter this probably. Well, no, I'm not, because that's got a turn down slab. Anyway, this is from other drawings, so I moved them off the paper. You can see this is a 24 by 36 inch sheet of paper. And if I update this, this is a viewport into the model. If I update it, it should show my porch footings. If I saved it, that's the key. Save. Update. There we go. One little trick I've learned in SketchUp is to change this under SketchUp model. Now this is in layout. Layout is the companion software to SketchUp where we do our paper space. If you'll turn this on hybrid, I know that's funny. I have a UFO in my model and I'm talking about hybrids, but that you can either changing this from raster to vector, affects the quality of the print, obviously, if it's a vector. But the vector will slow down your computer if you have a lot of different faces, entities in your model. So hybrid is a nice, compromise. And that makes the lines sharper and makes your drawing read better. I'm going to move it up a little bit because I need room for dimensions under my title mark there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm trying to figure out what happened to the live stream. I only usually have 2 or 3 people, and the quality don't break you. Well, if you have a lot of I've done animation work for companies in the past, and I've done models that have a bunch of information in them, and then when you try to vectorize that in your plots, your paper space, it takes a while to render them. But normally in a drawing like this, where there's not a lot of information, it doesn't hurt. Did you measure? No, I actually started out in construction. I wanted to build things, and you can go to my website and see some of my old pictures. I started out in 1978. Here's my 40-year. That's big. Turn that down to 100%. So I made this thing for my website. It was a 40-year celebration, and I just have old pictures. There's me when I was 18. There's me working on a roof when I was probably, 20. There's an old cabin I built back in 1987. I bought this 1987 Mitsubishi pickup truck, brand new, that year. And here's some articles about Habitat for Humanity. I helped start in Chattanooga. Anyway, now this house here is interesting because this fella right here, who you probably can't see, Bruce Rogers, was an architect friend of mine. He got me interested in architecture. He actually went to Auburn University and majored in architecture. And I actually built this house. He came back. He graduated in 1980, I believe, 1982 maybe. And he came back, and I built this house for him. He designed it, and I built it. And he's up there. He's also a climber, which he used to take me on climbing adventures, and that's what this picture is right here. We're resting on a ledge. What happened to my climbing picture? I'm resting on a ledge right there. It's about 80 feet up. Anyway, I was obviously heavier than everybody else and was tired. So anyway, he got me interested in architecture, and then I had an opportunity. And during high school, I took drafting. Always. The thing about it is, I always had this dream of being an architect. There's my fat butt on a Habitat house in 1987, and but I always had this struggle. Well, one of the struggles was financially. My family wasn't wealthy enough. Back in those days, there weren't a lot of grants for poor people to go to architecture school. So, I actually wanted to build things anyway. So, I've always thought that, I know I'm happier with what I'm doing. So I started about 20 years ago. I started Artisan Construction, and it became incorporated in 2004. And I operated it as a DBA before that. But so I was stuck in desire, I don't, how do I say this? I wanted to be an architect, but I wanted to build things more than I wanted to be an architect. So what I did was I spent about 7 years out of my 40 years in construction in the industry. Let's just say I've spent 7 years in architecture at several different architecture firms. And actually, better to mention that, shouldn't we? 2 foot, I don't like that. I'll fix that. I don't like these weird dimensions. And learn the process. Architecture is a process. A lot of people think that it's art or something, but actually, art is art, and architecture is architecture. Architecture is a process, really, of managing design and construction. And I realized the administrative side of architecture was really kind of boring, to be honest with you. I mean, the initial or the end result of architecture is fun, or the initial part of it's fun, and then the end result is fun, but the in-between is tedious. In other words, you go through a lot of sitting behind a desk to get something built. And I know that's not 9 1/4. And this will be a little, some of these dimensions, the reason I go ahead and dimension some of this early is because I want to go back and fix these dimensions to where they work out with block work, coursing, these blockers 16 inches long, or that's their laying dimension. They're not actually 16 inches long. They're minus the your grout work. But anyway, so much to talk about, so little time, and now we're being invaded by aliens. I don't know what to do. Just keep working, I guess. And why is that wall 8 1/4 inches thick? That's not right. A concrete block is 7 5/8 of an inch. I'll fix that. But see, that's why I like to do some rough dimensions really early. I'll have to go back and tweak my whatever's wrong, and that's why, in design, it's good to have construction experience, because you know that a concrete block is 7 5/8 wide by about 15 and a half, 15 5/8 long. And the reason that is because you want your finished work, you want your coursing, you want to be able to say, on especially the height, the 8-inch increments work out. So they allow for the mortar between the blocks, to be, because if you made the blocks 8 inches, actually, you couldn't get 8-inch coursing. It would be more than 8-inch. So I'm just going to quickly run around and but of course, when we're drawing, some things like this would be 16 inches. I wouldn't draw it at, because and I'll fix that. Sometimes SketchUp is good about some things, and sometimes it doesn't remember where you left off, so you have to go back and remind it. But like this, the block layer and I both know that block is not 16 inches long exactly. But when we're talking about, we want to keep things simple to a certain degree. So we don't want to, have dimensions like this, 10 foot 1/4. I'll fix that. I might not be able to fix that because I want this 4 feet from the corner. and I know that's 16 inches, so oh, here's my 1/4 inch. You see, I can move that. I'll just give you a quick demonstration. I need to move it a 1/4 inch to the right. So we'll go back to our thing, and we'll move all these and get in this kind of perspective mode so I can it may just be these ends. Now I could just change the dimension. I move it in the right direction. And I really should go ahead and move all these too, since I'm suspect though, because I'm pretty sure I had these in the middle to begin with. So let's go back to our view and we'll save it. And this is the 3D model. Now if I go to layout where my drawing's going to be, and then I click and I update that, that should fix that 10 foot to, to 10 feet. And what's going on? Did I save it? Update, save. Update. Well, it could be that I just today's been kind of weird, so I'm not surprised so far. You know what it is? It is the fact that these are dropped. That's what it was. I shouldn't have moved those. So let's get these back where they belong. Because I know the building is 32 feet wide. So that's 16 feet. It's the fact that these are dropped. I'm going to lock my axis, and then I'm going to go over here and reference that right there, and then I'm going to, that's what it was. That's the only thing about you have to be careful of is when things are not coplanar, then and you start to try to dimension them. Let's see if that's right. Let's just check it. If I go from here, I'll lock that axis 16 feet. Yeah. Now let's go back to our view. Update that. Save it. But yeah. How long does it take to make one building? Oh, it depends on who's building it. If you're wanting to build your own house, I would allow at least a year. For a builder who's built, a bunch of houses and they're, not complicated, and like this house should take maybe about 10 months, but your building permit's good for a year. I'm going to delete these measurements and start over just to see if I can. let's see, let's grab this and we'll hit update. No, I didn't mean to do that. I wish they wouldn't put that, put that menu item right next to the, I know, see here, no. They put that menu item right next to the one you use all the time. This one right here. Let's see. It's just going crazy. Everything's going crazy all of a sudden. Alright, so the menu item is update model reference. Well, there's one right next to it open with SketchUp. Well, you already have it open. So I wish they put something like, you know, bring me a beer or something, even though I don't drink beer, in that right there. But you can, I mean, it's not that difficult to build your own home, especially if you have somebody that you trust to help you. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for that 10 feet. And I need to lock this. I've noticed that if you're going along and you're doing a string of dimensions, SketchUp will remember. I'm going to use that point right there. That point right there. There we go. It should be 8 feet. That's what I was looking for. Now I don't like the fact that the dimension lines are going all the way. I forgot how to fix that. If I go there, I can't see. I'm blind. There we go. Well, sometimes you just gotta move on. So, alright, so I know that point. But yeah, if you can find somebody that you, or just get a lot, you know, good references, you know, first I want to dimension that, then the different distance between them. See how it kind of snapped there when I had a string? So the best thing to do is to get your drawing right, so you can just run these down and not go back and forth. You know, once you start dimensioning, just keep going, and you won't lose your little reference, your little snappy point, your happy snappy point. I'm going to do that, and then that, and then I'm going to run a dimension from here because that's lined up with that all the way down. Well, see, there's another rule in dimensioning. You're not really supposed to dimension something twice, and I know why, but I forgot why. Mainly because, you know, if, let's say, back in the old days, that rule came up because we were manually dimensioning things. So if I put this dimension here, and then I put the same dimension over here, but it changes, and I had to manually do it, and I went back and changed this one, but for some reason I didn't change that one, there would be a conflict, you know. So, but I like to do it because I know we have technology now, and those old concerns are pretty much gone. Sometimes you can lock your, well, what you can do is you can hover, kind of hover over a point, and then if you, there we go, yeah. See, I hovered over that point to infer it for SketchUp, and then it knew that's what I wanted to snap to. But I got a little weird thing here. I don't like these 1/8 of an inch things. I don't know where that came from. It's probably a mist. Now see, somebody, you might be tempted to just change your dimension style to make it work, like to the precision or the tolerance. You could change it to 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch, and it would go away. But I just want to know why I'm getting a difference. It should be 23.6 is what it should be. I have a feeling that it's because these might not be lined up. So let's try that. Am I right? I don't know. These are a little bit higher than the foundation because of the way the porch works out. See if we got any other questions. Haha, yes, bring a beer. Maths. I never understood why it had to be plural. I understand there are different genres of math, but it's still math. I always thought people said maths just to be fancy, and I'm not a fancy person. I like to keep things simple. Sometimes I'll have a little booger on my monitor, and I think it's a little defect in the drawing. Kind of funny. So that is pretty close on the foundation plan. And let's see, I want to dimension these little boogers here, but the thing about these footings, what I need to do is show these posts so I can dimension the post and not the footings. So I'll go back here and I'll turn on my porches. And what happened to my posts? For some reason I have the post in. I need to fix that, don't I? I need to put that up. That's weird. It is in porches, but it must be in the Well, anyway, let's put this in. Let's make a layer, as if I didn't have enough layers already, right? But my extensions put some of these layers, these tags in here. Back in the old days, we called them layers, and I still call them layers. In 2021, the nerds at SketchUp decided to call them tags. I think they're into social media too much, and they're trying to affect our CAD program by socializing it. Anyway, I'm just trying to be funny. What I need is don't want that in wall or floor. I got this layer called porches and decks. Oh, and then what is this other one? Porches. That doesn't make any sense. This is a product of copying things from other jobs and bringing them in to save time. But what you end up doing is convoluting your tags and layers, your layers. But what I want is to do is, I don't want the wall, I don't want it in wall, because I think what I'm going to do is just draw myself a little square, and we'll just call it okay. There's just 3 of them, and I'm not going to hurt anybody. My zoom is going crazy. Now I can turn the wall off and floor. Now if I go to foundation plan, there we go. Update, save. I'm curious how, I know, I don't understand where everyone, I mean, I appreciate it, and it's great to see everybody, but how did this happen? I've never had this many people, especially on a Sunday morning. I believe the little alien I put in the drawing must have alerted his peoples. Where did it go? Put it in perspective. I didn't delete my UFO, did I? No, there he is. Did you tell all these people to come? I think this is the Bob Lazar sport model here. And then see, this is how you get all your crap in your drawing. This was another job, and this one actually had some grade changes. So we had some stepped footings, and this one is probably going to. I'll probably have to. What happened to my footing? That was scary. I thought I lost it. But oh, look at that. And this one's probably going to have some grade changes. I'm going to have the owner try to mark, talking to you. I think probably we'll have a step down on this corner, and that's what I need. We need to get that information before, it'd be nice to work out some, information exchange from the contractor. I'm not the contractor because I'm in Tennessee and Mark's in Idaho. I would like to have been the contractor. I almost asked him if I could come up and build it, but the timing was not right for me. I've got one house going here now, and then I'm getting ready to start another one for a lady. And it's a bigger job. So I think that's pretty good. Now if we turn on our floor, this is our floor framing. Let me turn off the sheeting. There's our TGIs, our truss joists, our wood eye joists. They're called different things from different manufacturers. And TGI, I think, was pretty much the first company to come out with these. But they're basically just engineered wood products. And you can see down here we got our girder. I like to drop my girder so that the joist can sit on top of it. Some contractors, I need to put some texture on that. It just looks white. Looks weird now. But some contractors like to put the girder up here, which I think is a no-no. But I don't criticize anybody for doing that. Some people like to put it up here and then use joist hangers, but what you're doing is you're causing the owner the joist hangers for these TGIs are expensive, like $6 or $8 a piece. Look at all those joist hangers. It's a cost that what it is if you would just put some effort into planning your project like I'm doing here, and you drop your piers 11 7/8 from this wall, make sure like this pilaster is dropped. And if you go watch my videos on that last house that I just deleted, you'll see that the girder turned out perfectly. The block layer did a really good job. It was really straight. We didn't have to shim it or anything, and your floor will be a lot smoother too. It seems like if you put the girder up here, then it always seems like you get a hump in your floor right there. For some reason, if you let the joist run over the top of it, especially if you're using conventional framing like 2x10s, and let them lap, then you have a lot smoother floor. And you don't have to cut on these. Obviously we'll have to cut these, but if you don't have to, you can actually. This is the best way to do it, but you can actually lap these joists like this, so you don't have to worry about cutting them so much. You just cut one end square. This end doesn't have to be square. That's a really quick method, but it's nice that on these I like to have them all lined up so that when you're running your subfloor, all the joint, you don't have that problem of the layout changing as you get halfway on the floor. But now what I was going to do is create a floor framing let's see, we want this to be parallel projection. This parallel projection, basically you can tell will change your drawing when you're going into printable drawing mode. This perspective is kind of cool, but it's not something that's typical in construction documents. Contractors are used to seeing it, just kind of flattened out like that, and it's easier to dimension and scale. Technically, it's hard to get it to scale if you do it in that perspective mode. But if I go turn off my floor, well, I meant to turn off the foundation. And so this, and I'm in my parallel projection mode. And so we'll create a scene. Excuse me. We'll create a scene. Here's how you transfer your model in 3D space to paper space. You create yourself a viewport of a scene, and we're going to call it floor framing. Plan. You see it popped up right there, so we'll update that. We'll save it. Then we'll go to paper, which is layout. And oops, I've already created a, let's see, I don't have a floor framing page, do I? So I'll add one. And this is just my blank title sheet. You can see atdrafting.com. And then we'll put insert, and we'll go to our Mark's home, Idaho home. And I'm importing that view, and then you select the scene. Did I save the drawing? You gotta save it to update it. Need a public service announcement, don't we? You gotta save it to update it. Scenes, floor framing plan, and then on your SketchUp model tab, just make sure that says preserve scale on resizing, because when I resize this window, if I didn't do that, you see, and I change the size, it tries to scale the view, you see. I'm not a fan of the view, so anyway, just kidding. But I want to first check my scale. I thought it was a little too small. Now I want to preserve, yeah, on that setting. Now I can feel free to resize my viewport without, oh, I need to add, oh, I don't need those footings. That's one thing I'll have to do is go and really we don't typically show. Let's get ourselves a title bar, title mark, copy page 7, paste the current layer, and we'll go down here and change this to floor framing plan, and we'll get our little line back out where it was. And I'm going to save a little room for dimensioning, but I'll move that over, and then I like to move the edge of this over to there, close to that. But I want to get rid of these. Well, let's see if we have any other questions. What talking, Mr. Hey. Hello everyone again. You're quiet. Let's see. One piece by being in another layer happened to, yeah. And when you're creating groups, sometimes you forget, and this is a rule of thumb people forget. When you're creating groups, you want to make sure all of your let's go back to perspective. Let's just go to elevation here. So this is an easy mistake to make, okay? Like let's say I have this I'm going to copy this handrail out here, and I'm going to explode it. It's not going to be a group anymore. You see, all these are individual items. And see, there's the mistake right there. Explode. You want to keep all of your, see where I've got this, if I select that, it says porches up here. All of your geometry should be in untagged. And see, back in the old days, it was layer 0. In AutoCAD, we would say all of your geometry needs to be in layer 0. Okay? You need to draw in that layer. If you'll notice, I'm always drawing. Okay, so that should be an untagged. Okay, so now none of this is associated with any layer. Okay, now, and this is just your standard operating procedure. Now if you want this to be in a layer or a tag, you make a group, and then put that group in porches or whatever. You see. Now, the only you have to, and really, this is, to be honest with you, this is a convoluted. These are convoluted layers. So I'm going to go back and clean those up, clean all this up, because there's really no reason to have that many unless you just absolutely have to. So now, now I don't have to worry. The reason you do that is because, let's say I accidentally let's say I want this handrail to show up in the floor plan, so I'll put it in the wall folder. You see, SketchUp 2021 added a level of complexity by adding these folders, right? So if I turn off, if I have porches and decks in this layer, this folder, and I want it to show up in different different views, I think you kind of get my point, that if you go if I were to put these in a layer, and of course, if this is how you manage them, if you want them to be off or on in a particular folder or layer, then you do it. But the standard is not doing it. The standard is draw all your geometry in untagged, and then make groups and put groups. And I'm probably not explaining it very well, but that's something you want to research. If you're in the CAD, if you're doing work like this, that's something you'll want to research and do from the very beginning of your model. As you're drawing things, just always make sure that the actual lines that you're creating are in the untagged. That's your current. You see where my little pencil is right there? That means that's the current or default layer or tag. Let's see, where was that? You got me off on a tangent. You need a private jet to work from Nougat. Yeah. We already working in Dunlap, which is 30 miles away. The house we're currently building is in Dunlap, so that's a 40-minute drive. But you're right, plane. I don't know if I'd want to have to get on a plane every day. I don't know. That's what layer are these in? Now see, these are not. But these are. I was getting ready to make the mistake of putting each one of these into a layer, but what I'm going to do is make a group out of these. Then I'm going to put that group in. What do I have the? What is the wall itself in? Foundational wall. Yeah, that's where I want those. Now, the problem with that is, again, these are in footing. But I don't think this is going to hurt because, again, since, obviously that was planned. I'm planning this. I'm not just randomly doing it. So if I go to foundation wall, you also have to be careful. That foundation wall layer that you see like that, it's all under, excuse me, all lowercase, is created by an extension I have, which is this Medique foundation truss and wall extension. And I have some videos on that. It's a really cool extension. I know the guy who developed that. He's a really good guy, Nathan Wilkerson. Let's see. Now, since I did that, let's go back to my foundation plan. Yeah, everything's good. But now if I go to my floor framing plan, they disappear because they are turned off. And see these, I'm going to put in. I know it's not really a good idea, but those are the little squares I put in there to represent the post. I'm going to put it in the same layer just so it will act the same. And I think I'm going to do away. I don't know if I want to keep this. I don't normally show the plate, this rat seal, this mud seal. We used to call it, back in the old days, we called this a rat seal. This treated plate that sits on top of the foundation. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this and then turn on the foundation. We used to call this the rat seal. And then it kind of morphed into the mud seal. And some people just call it a treated plate, so many different terms, and you'll see different terms in construction regionally. Like, this is a rim, rim board. For TGIs, when you have these engineered floor joists, there's a special rim board that goes with them. That it's a solid, it's a more dense material, it's a more load bearing, it has more of a load bearing capacity than the joists do. So you use it to go, it goes under your exterior walls, right? The ends of these joists are compressible, so you need wherever you have a load bearing wall, that's why you have these blocks going between them right here, because there's a wall that sits on top of that. And well, if you do, I'm not sure, I think our wall's over a little bit, but if you do have anytime you have a wall sitting on the top of these where there's a girder, you're supposed to have what we call either squash blocks, which are 2x4s just nailed on the side, or these blocks, these, of course, this is kind of optional, and I'll note that it's optional because, this is more expensive. Sometimes you'll have these blocks left over, from where you cut these, but I don't think they're going to have much left over. It just occurred to me these will be 16 footers, so I'll probably look at maybe using squash blocks instead, or I'll maybe talk to his contractor and see how he wants to do it. But anyway, where was I? Got off on a tangent again. Oh, what I was saying was that I don't normally show this plate. I wonder if that's in a layer. So in 2021 version, you can't select the default layer untagged anymore. I'm still using. What do you mean select it? Yeah, you can. My point is that you just should draw all your geometry in untagged, and then if you want to put something in a layer, put it as a part of a group. Here's a good example. If I draw a cube, and if I'm in the habit of, now let's delete all the faces. Okay. Let's say I'm in the habit of putting lines, actual line work, in layers, right? And let's say I'm drawing along and I'm in a bad habit of doing that, and I draw that line in, that layer. Okay, you see, and I draw the other part in another layer. You see, I think that you start to see why that's a bad idea. Okay, so what you want to do is keep all your geometry. It's not hard to do. It's just a philosophy, okay? Because SketchUp is set up to where when you open a drawing, the default layer that you're drawing your geometry in is untagged. It's kind of like the layer 0 of AutoCAD, okay? And it's the same in AutoCAD. We would draw all of our geometry in layer 0, and then we would make groups or whatever. What did we used to call them in AutoCAD? Dang, I'm forgetting. But anyway, it's just a rule of thumb, and it's a practice. We have these CAD standards, in the industry that we try to follow. And the reason is because, especially when we're sharing work with other people, like if you're working on a team, the CAD standards become really important. And I'm thinking I want to turn this, for God's sakes, I don't want another layer, but let's see if I got one I can turn off. I can put this, first of all, I want to make sure they're not all in the same group. So what I want to do is I want to group all these plates. I think I can turn off the floor joist and make this easier. What is this in? Floor framing. If I turn off, see, this is even convoluted a little bit because I got layers that this extension created, and I've got layers that I've created, and sometimes they conflict with each other. So that's why it's a good idea. Honestly, my drawings sometimes are the best example of why you should follow a standard because they get really convoluted. And what I'm going to do is try to group all these plates, so I can just select have I got them all? Yeah, so now I'm going to create a group out of that, and I will be able to, I'm going to put I thought his extension created one. One thing I don't like they did in 2021 was the layers that are turned off are really faint. You have a really hard time reading them, especially if you're optically challenged, because that would be the proper term. So I'm going to put floor underscore, and I try to follow his convention. Nathan's my extension guy, because then all the layers will kind of be familiar, similar. Floor, I want to say, I'm just going to call it seal. I don't know what that is. Then I'm going to put this in floor seal, and then I'm going to go to my floor framing plan, and I'm going to turn floor seal off. And that's how the contractors normally used to looking at a floor framing plan, because it's kind of understood that you get that seal plate anywhere you have a concrete wall, and I think it just confuses the issue. If I show it out here, it makes it look like there's something special going on. And what else do we want to get rid of? I think we'll just leave it. Now, sometimes you'll see an outline of the foundation. But if we turned off footing outline, foundation vents, I mean, you could show it like that, but again, it's not as clear. I mean, the main point of the floor framing plan is to show the floor framing. I feel like I got a seal plate showing right here. No, it's just a joist close to the end. Oh, you see I didn't save it. So I gotta go floor seal and then update that. Now what I do want to do is show my deck framing. But let's save this and go back to our layout and update the drawing. And that's more really, again, you can see it's more faint, but if I change this from raster to hybrid, it's gonna print. After I print these drawings, I've noticed that it's a better print job. So that is that. Now I do want to show see if we have any more questions. Yeah, they in 2021. You don't have tags. They changed it. I think it's 2020 or 2021 that they changed it to tags, and then in 2021 they added these folders, which I actually like this feature. If I collapse all these, you'll see that. Let me just let me put all these. That's supposed to be. Let me turn all these on. And then wall king. Let's see. Let me get anchor bolts. That should be in foundation. You see, some of these tags, these layers were not in the Floor framing should be in floor. So what it allows you to do, and allows you to do is that, you know, it allows you to quickly control the views. Let me get this in perspective. Yeah. Do you see I got just about everything turned on? This is like a drone view of his site, and this is how we've got the house, you know, turned, right? And all my layers aren't turned on. But anyway, so if I just wanted to quickly get rid of the site work, I just turn that folder off, you see, and, you know, so on. If I want to get rid of the roof, you know, so, you know, I've got many layers in each of those folders. And then, of course, these views, I have one that's kind of a working view where I just have the layers, most of the layers turned on that I want. Whoa, UFO. Yeah, they did change it, and it was really kind of silly. I was talking about that earlier, where I really, honestly, and I get it, all you social justice warriors, I get it, whatever you want to do, it's your life, but I don't like it when that infiltrates my software, you know, and this is kind of my theory. Why else would you change something that's obviously should be a layer? In other words, you're building this layer by layer. Layers has always been the terminology. I started using AutoCAD in 1982, I think. And so ever since then, it's been layers, you know, and now we have, you know, our social issues. You know, I don't know where this word tag, to me a tag is, has more to do with the attributes of, like, for me, if you want to have tags, have them inside layers. Like if I want to tag this post and I want to have a tag, you know, that says, okay, this is a treated post, okay? That is a descriptive term for me, you know. But the layer that I put it in, I could have all of the things tagged post into the same layer, you see? So them changing layers to tags was kind of you know, obviously I still like SketchUp, so I'm not going to change. I'm not going to stop using it, but I think it's silly. I think it's directly, you know, it's there's political. I just don't like politics invading my, you know, invading my software. You know, keep all that stuff on Reddit. Thank you. Someday I'm going to jump on this spaceship and take off, and I won't have to put up with this crap anymore. Oh, where was I? See, I usually get a lot done because there's hardly anybody ever in my live streams. Now, see, I got some kind of layer turned on. Okay, so that's the first floor plan. See what I did was now I got the floor sheeting turned on in my floor plan and the floor joist. Let's go back. So I need to turn off the floor joist and the floor sheeting, and let me update that. Now see, this is where I'm an old timer. I still have a two-dimensional plan that represents the floor plan in the 3D model. So when you're looking at my paper drawing, my floor plan right here, and I need to go, obviously this needs to be updated. This is a two-dimensional drawing that you're looking at. This is not the model that you're looking at. And I think that's still actually a good way to do things. I think you should develop when you're developing your plan initially, like the schematic phase of it, you should do it in 2 dimensions because it's a really quick way to transfer information back and forth to your customer or contractor. And then as I get out of that schematic mode, I'll start to use my extensions, then to build on top of that, and the layers turned off so you're not seeing it. But since I have these folders, I can easily turn on that. You see, so now that I have that, I can easily just come and start to build on top of it. But I always keep it there. See, that's an exterior wall, not an interior wall. You see, like that. But I keep that 2-dimensional plan as the reference because I'm an old timer, and that's what I like. And you're saying, what's the difference? Well, the difference would be is if I tried to create a plan by creating a section, like if I tried to do a section through the house like that, right? And then I tried to create a view like that, and I turned this to parallel projection, and I turned off section planes. You see, you can do that, but I have run into many frustrations trying to create floor plans from the actual model. It hasn't really got to a point yet to where, mainly because you see, you can't apply hatches. Like, see this where it's cut through right here? I can't apply a texture to that little face, right? I can't. That's controlled by the style. And we're kind of getting kind of deep here into, other stuff. I mean, it'd take hours to explain all this stuff, but the style, the way you view that is controlled right here. And you go into your styles, and the one that you're using currently is selected. Now you can go and you can edit the way the section fill is, how it viewed, how it's, the color. You see how it lightened up when I changed it. But you can't apply a texture to that. So what I like to do is, y'all get me to mess up my drawing. What I like to do is have a 2-dimensional floor plan like this, and then I can go in and I can put my hatch patterns that I like. That's representative of a wood wall. You see that up there. So I'm kind of using the old school method combined with the new school method, because I think having the model, having a 3D model that I can show the owner that's, actual size. I mean, we draw this, we don't scale it or anything. It's the actual size of the house. And you see now, I'm really getting convoluted stuff in my drawing. Oh. How many additional extensions do I have? Okay, so I try to keep it simple, and the main ones I use are Nathan's extensions. I have Medique Truss, which allows you, which is really comes in handy. You can draw roof trusses. You can draw a whole roof. And it's really accurate. Nathan is an engineer, so he understands, truss design. And so when I do a set of trusses, I'm pretty confident that it's going to work out well. And that whole thing can be, you can edit that and go add, advanced, like all the roofing and stuff to it. So if I update it, you see now that's where I get my sheeting, my soffit, all that. So that's a really handy. The only thing I freaked me out when I first got it was that it creates a layer for everything in the world. And I had to deal with, you have to kind of set your mind up to accept all these different layers. You have to learn to work in that kind of atmosphere. But the thing is, once you learn how his convention works, it's pretty simple. It's pretty good. And then a foundation is a good one. A Medic, his foundation extension. And again, I wouldn't be intimidated by all these variables, because you can just say okay, and then you can go back in and edit it, later. But he's got you can get all the rebar. If I explode this, there should be some rebar. If I had it set up for rebar, yeah. You see, there's a top bar, and then down here there should be, there should be footing bars. But you can change those. Oh, good thing the spaceship's there. Gave me a reference in space. Undo that. And then I have weld. Weld is a good one, because, if you have, different line segments, and that comes in handy. Like if I had these 3 line segments and I wanted to weld them all together. Now, if you're doing like the follow me command, like if you have a complex shape and you're trying to, you have to, and you have a bunch of lines that are your path, then you have to weld all those lines together. It also comes in handy, like if you've drawn a circle, and then you've let's say, well, let's explode this. Let's see, yeah. And so now I have a bunch of line segments, right? But if I can weld all those back together, see, now I've got a path again for if I had like a complex shape, like a circular stair, but it was going to be 3-dimensional. Like if I had a stair that was winding up as I came up, so I'd want to weld all those back together. So that's a good one. Weld is a good one. And then there's your weld settings. And then the only other one that I think, this flatten to plane is a good one because it's easy. One thing you'll do in SketchUp accidentally, and you can't tell sometimes, is if this, let's see, will this face, yeah, okay. So let's go back, let me undo that. Let's say this line is let's say it's up in the air 1/16 of an inch. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in and get rid of the other one. I can't even zoom in that close. I don't have my settings. That's it. Oh, duty. Come on now. I need to change my field of view. Now I'm going to delete that one. Why can't I select that one? There we go. Now, right? So you're looking at this and you're saying, "Oh, this is it's all connected, right?" And you try to say you need a face on it. Uh-oh. Now you're going along. Uh-oh. I can't isolate. And I've done this a million times, like where I'm trying to isolate where the problem is. Well, if you'll discover really quick that it's because things are not coplanar, and if you have this flatten extension, there's a plugin. flatten to plane. Now the line goes back and you're good again. So if you ever have problems with faces closing, it's generally going to be that it's not coplanar. That's the big thing. So I don't have that many. I have I know this other guy, Chuck Valley, this architect who developed this extension that's really good that I use for cladding. I used it with this. This is how I created these battens on this for this siding. So it's real easy. And I used to go crazy. I literally would draw these by hand, and then I'd have to cut them around all the windows and doors, and I would spend hours and hours. But if I go to instant cladding, which is one of his, and we'll just pick one real quick, battens, and then there's all these parameters, but I'm just going to say run it. So see, and it went and cut around all the windows, and so that's real handy, I found. So I found over the years, I've been on SketchUp since 2006, pretty early. I'm going to delete that because I'm not ready to do the siding yet. I have found that I found these very, it's if you can keep it simple. Like I don't really even need this stair maker. I was playing with that. I don't need that, and I don't need. There was another one. I think that's really the only one I have that I don't really need this 1001 tools. I mean, it's kind of whatever, but I hardly ever use it. So those are the main extensions I use. But when I first start, I do these I'll do these wall schematic, what I call in schematic mode. And if you look at my layers, you'll see I have wall scheme 1, wall scheme 2. That's first and second floor. I like to keep my walls. If I turn off the roof, I like to keep my walls simple and in just your typical SketchUp mode, when you're drawing a wall. Why they won't cooperate. I just keep my walls real simple until I get that information transferred into the owner's brain, and then once I do that, I go back and start detailing it, and that's why I usually end up with so many layers on this kind of thing. So I think I may end it here for a little while. You need a private. Okay, I was trying to get to some of these. I checked. Oh, let's see, agree tags. Let's see, spaceship joke. Haha. I don't normally talk about this, but I actually had an experience when I was a teenager. And ever since then, I've always believed that we weren't alone in the universe. And, I don't talk about it much because people think you're nutty. But I was on a backpacking trip and I saw what I thought was a UFO. And it just changed me. And it just, and I have had other experiences too. Maybe I'll do a live stream one time and just talk about them. But on another backpacking excursion, a friend of mine, we were sleeping out under the stars around a campfire, and we didn't have tents or anything, and the fire had just burned down, and this dark mass just hovered through our camp over the fire right between us. And we were so shocked, we were so speechless that neither one of us moved. It took us about 10 minutes to even say anything. So that was just kind of weird. No telling what that was. So I've always, after being in, I don't know, it's years and years of different experiences. I've always believed that there was, in extra dimensions, and especially it's funny when you get into modeling and you start working in the spatial world. When I'm zooming in and I'm trying to get situated, and I'm trying to set up views. What you start to realize is that this is, we we humans are in a space, and we're moving through that space, but it's not the only space, you know. So that's why I think it's fun, and I've always been interested in the UFO phenomena, and I've always wanted there to be less secrecy about it, and just for our governments to be truthful. But I also understand that most people probably couldn't handle it, and it would maybe destabilize our economy. And there's all kinds of things. They've done studies on this, and so I don't blame them really for trying to keep the lid on it. Anyway, how I got off on that tangent, not really sure. Okay, I have a project for you to build me a home in Mexico that I will need a tech fair. Yeah, and so that's what I do here. This is actually for one of my other customers, and it's, to be honest with you, it's kind of junky looking right now, but if I open up, I'll give you a better feel for what. Let's open up a completed. Let's open up Laszlo's building. That's pretty good. Layout. Which is the most current? Let's see, back up. This one. This is a project. This is obviously a completed project. So you got your cover sheet, and you got your foundation plan and foundation details. And this is another one of those drawings. You'll see me click through it, and you'll see it take time to go through. This drawing had a lot of information in it, and I was actually glad to be done with this one. And I'm not quite sure why it's taking that long to go between the foundation and the floor plan. Oh, I see. This is actually the framing. I did a views for him. This is a project that he was building himself. So I did all these different views of how the walls were framed. And I don't think this is the actual finished drawing. I think I picked the wrong file. But I just wanted to show you kind of how, like, here's a good example of a roof framing plan. The trusses are all laid out. Everything's notated. Here's a truss detail drawing. Yeah, this is not the actual finished one. I picked the wrong one. But it'll give you an idea of the set of drawings that I typically will do. And I honestly don't know why. I may have abandoned this one because sometimes your files you'll think they get a little corrupted. So I created another one and renamed it, and sometimes that helps just to get the garbage out. See how long it's taken to go between the different drawings. That's not good, and that's not typical. There we go. But honestly, though, this drawing does have a lot of information in it because these shipping containers, all these little faces, you can't really tell, but there's a lot of information just in one of these containers that is stored, obviously, in SketchUp. So, but yeah, I can help you with your project. What was your name? Mr. Trader. Mr. Trader. I'm going to You can contact me at atdrafting.com. I should have a link in the description. And here's a little form right here, request for services. You can kind of fill that out, just tell me about your project. And anyway, I'm going to go eat lunch and then I will be back later. I want to thank everybody for watching. I appreciate it. I'm not sure what happened with how my live stream got so far out there. But I do appreciate it. Thanks.